All right, without further ado, joining me now are my good friends Todd Bostock from Dos Cabezas Wineworks, Ken Callaghan from Callaghan Vineyards, and Pavle Milic from Los Milics Vineyards, all located in southern Arizona around an hour south of the Tucson area. Welcome to the show, my friends. Thanks for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having
Thanks
us.
to Chris.
Thanks, Fritz. Nice to be here.
Great, great. Well, listen, let's start with a little bit about your backgrounds. I've known you all personally for many years now and have worked with you all in your vineyards at some point or another. And so I've been very impressed with what's going on in Arizona. I continue to be impressed with what I see coming out of the region. And coming from Texas and going just a little bit farther west, I was just shocked by how different the wines and the growing region is from this area. So I wanted to dig into that today from the grower perspective, but also talk a little bit about the wine. So, but before we get into all those regions, what about the history? I just would love to know a little bit about all of your take on the history of the Arizona wine and grape industry. How or when was it established roughly? When did things really take off? Because there seems to be that there's been wineries and vineyards in many states for many, many years, but there's kind of a critical point where things gain momentum and take off. And maybe I'll start with you, Kent, because you've kind of been doing it the longest here in this group. Any take on the history of the Arizona wine industry that we can dive into?
Yeah, sure. So, Gordon Dutt, a guy who was a soils professor, came directly from UC Davis to the U of A, University of Arizona, started a research program looking for high value added low water use crops because agriculture in the Southwest was getting killed by low cost imports. Much the problem was the cost of pumping water. So they wanted to find something they can bank on basically. But interestingly, only looked at wine grape crops. So he and his partners planted multiple test plots with multiple varieties in all of the four corner states. Had the grapes made into wine at a ag station in Tucson, and then they had them assessed for quality by a trained tasting panel. And in his opinion, the Sonoyta-Elgin area was the best for wine quality, which happens to be, it's on his original parcel that he bought. Yeah, I think in probably 78, 79, something like that, was on the Bava Camori Ranch, a Spanish language ranch, same area that the test was on. He and some partners planted in 79, 80, and then the first vintage was 83. The Sonoyta AVA was granted, I believe, in 84 and retroactive to 83. So 83 was the first official contemporary modern vintage of Arizona wine.
Where did the momentum really pick up in Arizona, and what areas really shined for taking responsibility or a role in that?
I think the first round of momentum was when the wines Kent was making started getting national and international acclaim from respected folks, like Robert Parker at the time, and really brought attention to to high quality wine being made here. And I know that when I was able to snooker my family into getting involved in this, I wanted to have the two wines that I liked the most were the wines at the time coming from Dos Cabezas and Callaghan. So we wanted property as close as we could to those two vineyards. And that's why we were here. And I think that's probably why a lot of folks are where they are in Sonoyta. And I think that's where you start to see the first wave of momentum, and then you lose people. And then I think we're on our third bit, but I would defer back to Kent for that because he was actually here to witness it all.
There's no question that we'd have a surge, and then we'd lose a couple steps backwards. But if there was one thing, I think somewhere around the Granholm decision, so when that was sorted out in the legislature in 2006, there had been some growth in the industry, but when that was finally settled and we were allowed, direct shipment, et cetera, kept all the rights that we thought we had. After, I would say 2006, that's a rough turning point for really expanding the industry, in 2000, probably a major growth spurt post 2010, 2011, something like that.
I'm kind of curious to know what are the biggest challenges to grape growing, particularly for vine health, vine longevity. And I'll go back into the round, starting with you again, Kent. What are the things that have taken out your crop or caused your vines to have decline, or even the ones that we deemed as suitable for the region? What are the biggest challenges?
Well, I mean, recently we were wiped out by hail in 2010 and 2020. And fortunately, we we knew you and you hooked us up with the hail net guy in Texas. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see how many other people who have never been affected by hail to this point are now buying hail nets because it's a very smart move. I think it's something, moving forward. I don't think there's any place in Arizona that's going to not have hail issues. It's just a matter of time. We went, and it was 2010 was our 20th anniversary, and we only had one hail event that was serious prior to that. So, but the biggest thing that I've found is, well, in both cases, 2010 and 20, we were, vines got whacked in August in both years by hail. And then we had at that time, coldest first fall frost we'd had ever. So in 2010, went from being, over not freezing to 25 degrees. It wiped out about 70% of what was at that point, a 4-year-old Grenache plot. And then in 20, it was 17 degrees. And that actually did kill some of our old Cabernet. And along with a lot of other stuff that was unrooted, Graciano back to the ground. So that's been our biggest problem. And the ubiquitous character of crown gall. Virus-free material is one thing. There's no guarantee about crown gall, and that is a huge problem.
That's a tough one to solve. And Ken, you mentioned that hail was a big issue. You mentioned that freeze was an issue, but you mentioned 17 degrees. And so a grower out there might think, well, wait a minute, 17. I thought we need to hit single digits to kill trunks and cordons. But the thing is, if you're going from a warm summer and your vines have not transitioned into ultimate dormancy, and you get into October and you hit 17 and your vines aren't ready for that, then it's just as bad as going down to 5 degrees or 0 degrees midwinter.
Well,
But it's
the other problem was that again, it's kind of ironic. Those frosts I was talking about came on the heels of hail events in August. So the vines were already weak, just starting to recuperate to be, and start to pack away carbohydrates, et cetera, to winterize themselves. And they got just torched by something they weren't even remotely ready for. They probably would have been reasonably okay, and been a normal growing season.
yeah.
It's a double whammy.